Welcome everybody to the development sessions. I'm Stephanie Russell and we are here today. We have a great presentation for you. I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today. It's Dr. Eloisa Klementich, and she's the president and CEO of Invest Atlanta. Previously, Eloisa served as Managing Director of Business Development at Invest Atlanta. In this position, she worked to attract new businesses and create incentives and initiatives that promoted job growth in Atlanta. Before coming to Invest Atlanta, Eloisa served as Special Assistant for Economic Development at the U.S. Economic Development Administration in the Office of the Secretary. She served as California's Assistant Deputy Director for Economic Development and Commerce and has held various roles with city governments, including the consultant for Mexico's President Vicente Fox, working on the best practices for addressing constituent issues and requests. Eloisa holds a bachelor's degree from Pfizer College and a master's in business administration from El Instituto Tecnológico de Monterrey. She holds 2 master's degrees in urban planning and Latin American affairs from the University of California, Los Angeles. She received her doctorate degree in public administration from the University of Laverne. Eloisa is also active in various business and civic organizations. She serves as board member for the Latin American Civil Association, Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs, Atlanta Technical College, Atlanta Workforce Development Agency, Launchpad 2X, Startup Atlanta, and Atlanta Emerging Markets Incorporated. A graduate of the Leadership Atlanta class of 2017, she's also involved with Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative, Georgia Economic Development Association, and International Economic Development Council. You guys are in excellent hands today. We have someone that is just an outstanding example of community and economic development. We are so pleased to have you with us today, Dr. Eloisa, and I'm going to turn the time over to you for your presentation. Thank you.
I thought the first thing I would do is first say thank you, Eloisa Klementich, President and CEO at Invest Atlanta. I wanted to ensure all of us had an understanding of Invest Atlanta, so I'm going to go real quick over just who we are, and then I'm going to jump right into the issue at hand. So Invest Atlanta is the economic development arm for the city of Atlanta, and in particular, we focus really on our vision of making Atlanta the most economically diverse city in the world. But the one thing I do want to highly emphasize is our equity statement. We believe that economic prosperity is shared and that competitiveness starts for all Atlantans. So we have to ensure that when we're thinking of programs, that we're thinking in tune of everyone. And I'm going to give you some examples and some lessons learned. I just thought I'd be real here. So hopefully when you're creating, or different cities are creating their programs, this can be helpful to them. So in particular, Invest Atlanta is exciting because we have 3 main verticals. First is our economic development vertical. We do everything from business attraction, retention, expansion to small business, creative industries, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship. That's the ED side of the house. Then we have our community development side of the house, and that has to do with tax allocation districts, or our TIFs, housing initiatives, commercial corridor, neighborhood revitalization. And then this last vertical, which I'm super excited about, just happened, is a workforce development. So here we're going to do employment training, work experience, and the idea is that we can braid these so you're still protecting everybody's revenue stream, but find ways to then do what we said in our equity statement, which is ensure you're creating an Atlanta for everyone. So this is the different tools we have. We are really lucky because we have the 3 verticals. We're able to leverage all these tools together. So we at our core are an authority, so we do bond financing, but we found ways to provide financial incentives. We have an EB5 regional center. We have new market tax credits. We have a small business revolving loan fund. We have incentive funds that we can tap into to try to support, and that's on the ED side. On the economic development, we actually have down payment assistance programs as well. So all of this toolkit allows us to really, I think, deliver the type of impacts that we want to see in the city of Atlanta. So last year, 2020, this is what we were able to do in terms of 4,000 jobs touched, retained. That was tough in COVID. We all had, it was very difficult. But the most exciting one for me is this 2,000 affordable housing units that we were able to help support to try to, again, reach our goal of Atlanta for everyone. Total capital investment, about $756 million, resulting in total economic impact of $1.6 billion. So that just gives you a sense. And then I've just provided some pictures, because I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, about some of the different projects to give you a sense of the magnitude and the breadth that we're able to touch. So from single family homes, again, this project was about 1,200 square feet, bedroom, 2 bath, single family, that permanent affordable. So this is, you'll see us really focusing on the permanent affordable. Then we have the low income housing tax credits. This is the Abington at Cheshire Bridge, True Light Haven, 124 affordable housing units for seniors. This one in particular exciting because it supports our TOD project. Then we also have Oaks at ATL. Again, you see the different types from a huge multifamily to smaller multifamily. And then with our TADS, our TIF program, we were able to bring a medical office building. You may say, oh, Lisa, what's so exciting about a medical office building? This was a medical desert for us. There was a lack of resources for medical organizations, doctors, facilities, etc. So we were really excited about this one. It's over there by Greenbrier Mall. And then through our TAD program as well, we were able to open up a Goodwill training center. Super excited about that. They can train about 2,000 individuals per year. So if we go back to our equity statement, this is how important it is to us. So you'll see us spending funds in those areas. Then these are just some of the companies that we've worked with. Okay, so why are we here? So the first thing I wanted to talk about was COVID-19 and our response to COVID-19. I think it's important for me. I'm going to, again, go pretty quick on this piece, but I wanted to understand COVID-19 because we learned a lot from COVID-19, and you're going to see that those lessons learned apply to our ARP program. So COVID hits March 2020. I think we were, you know, I'm proud to say, one of the first organizations out the door that just at that time, March 2020, go back, never in my mind did I think we would still be at home, 18 months later, or hybrid now, many of us. But what we did is we came out with the Business Continuity Loan Fund. This was a loan fund where we were offering $30,000, no interest, no payments for like 3 years. And this program launched very, very quickly. Then the mayor really took on this next one, which was strength and, okay, so let me jump it fast, sorry. The Business Continuity Loan Fund was targeted at businesses, small businesses in the city, and said, here, use this funding to help you support with whatever COVID was gonna bring. We weren't sure what it was gonna bring, but we knew it was gonna have an impact on our businesses. So then what we did is we did strength and beauty. The mayor in particular, her mother was a cosmetologist, used to cut hair, and they were saying, how do you do 6 feet social distancing and cut bangs or hair? You just can't. And so what we did is we offered $1,000 grants to anyone in the city, anyone who lived in the city or worked in the city in the cosmetology space. All you had to do was prove you were in the cosmetology space. We got out $1,000 for you to just help you deal with COVID. Then we were able to expand the program and created another program, Create ATL. We saw the same impact coming to our creatives. Atlanta home and us, Atlanta is a greater region, all of us in the state of Georgia benefit from the film and the creative. So we were able to give $1,000 grants to independent creatives. Again, they had to prove that they had lost work, either past or future work. As a result, we were able to give them a $1,000 grant. And then if you remember, in July of 2020, it just seems like it runs so quickly. There were the peaceful demonstrations. Do you remember most of the peaceful demonstrations that happened in 2020? But there were some that obviously some individuals and some businesses got impacted. So when we were touring, I remember the next day touring downtown and seeing the impact of the demonstration, not all of them, but some of the demonstrators. I started talking to businesses and they're like, Eloisa, look, COVID impacted us. I don't have cash flow. And how am I going to fix my broken windows? And I don't have enough money to pay for my deductible. So what we did at Invest Atlanta is we mobilized very, very quickly, and we were able to get out the door a program which was up to $10,000 grant to pay for people's deductible. So I wasn't going to come in and pay for the windows and all the damage, because some of it was it was a lot of money. But what I heard was, Eloisa, I don't have enough money to cover the deductible. So this money was specifically created to cover the deductible of our small businesses impacted as a result of the administration. The fifth program was our Resurgence Fund, which was up to $40,000. So from the COVID dollars that came in through Treasury, Atlanta got its direct allocation. So we created a program. I kid you not, we have never, ever worked as hard as we had. We had to get out $18 million in 6 months and create a program, and I hope I make some of you smile, that never existed before. So it wasn't like we took the money and said, oh, let's just put this money in this program. No, this program never existed. We were creating guidelines. We were creating strategy. I kid you not when I say we were building this plane as we were flying it. And so 5 programs created in less than a year's time, 6 months, and all implemented. Amazing. I am super proud of the team. We have about $15,000 left out of SIB I have to allocate, and we have about $22,000, you can see I've been working on this program, left on Create ATL. Other than that, we've got all the money out the door. So how much was that? So we were able to implement and disperse $20.1 million, probably in all of 8 months. We had over 819 applications were approved, and we were able to impact, touch, or somehow support 9,000 jobs out of this program. And the businesses were a wide array, from French Market, Iwi Fresh, the Atlanta Dance Academy, Local Green, Dad's Garage. I hope you've heard of some of these. These are the companies we were able to support. Okay, so but what I'm hoping to, and I hope my candor helps you and your municipality or your city as you think about how you use these ARP dollars. That's the nice things. What were some of the lessons learned? First, when we look back at our applications, we noticed that we dropped off about 2/3 of our applications. Only 1/3 of our applications completed. And most of those that dropped down on 2/3 was at the financial phase. So the reason why I'm mentioning this, because if we go back to our original conversation about what do we have to do to ensure that we're making Atlanta for everyone? And if equity is truly something we are trying to promote, then what we have to do is ensure that we're not dropping off 2/3 of the application, 2/3 of those who started. So hence, if we had about 800, that means that was 1/3. So I'm missing about 1,500 of people stop the application at that. Typically step 7, which was that financial. And I'm going to come back to each of these, so don't lose me here. The second thing was the case for hardship. Department of Treasury said very clearly, and I know the state, if there's anyone from the state, is probably smiling too. Hey, here's the money, go get it out. We want it out. At the time, it was in December. We had 6 months to get it out. Just go get it out. They gave you very little guidance, very little about, what you could do with the funds. Yeah, but they're going to come back and compliance. They're going to come back in about 7 years and say, hey, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? And everything in retrospect is so much easier. But one of the things that Treasury was very clear about was you have to demonstrate that the business lost money as a result of COVID-19. All right. If we look at that and what that truly means, we all know that the majority of our businesses lost funds. In fact, you see it in the data. but they needed us to prove that. The only way I could prove this is to say, this was my P&L statement prior to COVID, and this is my P&L statement after COVID. All right, if we're looking about, and I know you guys are thinking along with me, right? Think about your mom and pop beauty hair salon, the tire, the cell phone. Many of them are great entrepreneurs. They know what they're doing, but they necessarily aren't the best financial bookkeeper, or they know what a P&L statement is, but don't have one. And so those were some of the challenges. Okay, so the second thing is application drop-off, case of hardship. The third is the application. Somehow we have to balance, and I think fundamentally this is a challenge we all have, the balance, what do we need to show for compliance purposes, and then what do we need to show for documentation? Because I'm telling you, we all love getting that money, but we all have been in tables and in rooms where Treasury or labor or somebody HUD is coming to us and saying, why didn't you ask for more documentation? So I think it's some of these challenges for us that we're really going through today. And the last one is anticipate the U.S. Treasury reporting requests. Okay, this one makes me smile, because if I had an arm, like to show you what I have tattooed, and if we were all together, I would make you guess what the tattoo is on my arm. Does anyone want to guess? It would be duplication of benefits. Okay, so remember that timeline I showed you? In March of 2020, did anyone think about duplication of benefits? No. It wasn't until all of these programs started to come up. So from the CARES Act dollars to PPP to EDL. And then what Treasury noticed was that they had to ensure that people weren't tapping in. And it makes sense to me that you weren't tapping in and using the same dollars for PPP and CARES Act. And so something about duplication of benefits came up. Oh my goodness. So asking to ensure that we prove no duplication. So lesson learned to me as of CARES was, let's anticipate what Treasury is going to ask and make sure you have it in your application up front, because we didn't. We were moving so fast trying to get that money out. And I never knew of something called duplication of benefits, but I have the tattoo now. Is the idea is you have to ensure the business does not use the same dollars to cover the same project. So if you're gonna, for example, I think PPP, you could cover rent. Well, you could also for CARES Act. So we had to ensure the rents were not the same period of time. What that means is, it sounds, oh yeah, it makes sense. You should ensure that the money wasn't used. Well, how do you do that? That is more paperwork. And so since our applications were up and literally we were at the process of giving money, by the time duplication of benefits came about in November, we were pretty much done. And so now we had to go back, and trying to get businesses to comply once they've received the money was very, very difficult. So take the time, since we don't have the speed over our heads on our ARP dollars, to think through what will Treasury ask and how do we prepare for that in the future. That gets us to our next. Those were my lessons learned, and I'm going to weave these into how they've impacted how we've designed ARP moving forward based on what we learned, what we're hearing from businesses, as to where ARP came from. The last thing I'll let you know is that we also have distributed a survey to our businesses. And what we wanted to know was, where are you and how can these funds most help you? What we heard were a couple things. One, financing, no surprise, is still an issue. Access to capital is still an issue. Technical services, technical support was high at the response rate that we received. So funding, technical assistance were at the core of what we heard. Hence, you'll see our program. So, did I push the wrong button? I seem to have, and here we go. So what we did is we created, under the American Recovery Funds, Invest Atlanta has received or will receive $24 million And as a result, we've created programs that basically fall in two major buckets. First is workforce development, and the second is small business. So on the workforce development, we're going to consider training, support services, and a regional effort. So for that, hopefully some of my colleagues will also join in. We at Invest Atlanta and the City of Atlanta will be joining into the workforce redevelopment efforts, regional efforts. And then there's programs for small businesses. And again, just really supporting and iterating and understanding what businesses have told us, taking that information and creating a program. So our program will consider technical assistance, grants specifically to businesses, and affordable commercial space. Now, I will tell you, Eloisa, I've had the question. Why did these funds could be used to create a revolving loan fund. Why did you not create a revolving loan fund? And why did we choose grants over loans? The main reason we chose grants over loans was all of the funds that you disperse in a loan program and that come back to the city as repayment. The initial capitalization funds and all the repayment funds have to go back to Treasury. So I was thinking, when Eloisa wins the lotto and is on some wonderful island, and most of Invest Atlanta, whoever worked on the ARP, is also on that great island, it would be very difficult for us to remember, to codify, and then to take all of those funds and then return them back to Treasury. So if I have to return them back to Treasury and I can't reinvest them in the city, then, maybe I just go for grants. So hence our decision to stick with grants, which some cities may decide alone, whatever makes sense for you. But for the City of Atlanta, we chose grants. Okay, so here we go. The first program that we're going to talk about specifically is our regional partnership. So here, the idea is, how do we support the regional effort so that we can ensure that we are training individuals and upskilling them so that we can really ensure that we are the most competitive? Because one of the most important things that we're hearing from other businesses is workforce and work skill. And so this program targets on that. Specifically, we're going to put $2 million to this program. The idea is that we want to upskill individuals. We want to move them to what we're determining is a middle wage job in the City of Atlanta. And that's a wage of about $18 to $20 an hour. So our target is to go to individuals and not only provide training, but we want to help pay for that training and get them money so that they can get paid. Both things. We're going to pay for the training and we're going to pay the individual to go through the training. Because one of the things, John Helton, many of you may know him, he specifically said, Eloisa, there's plenty of programs out there. Well, not plenty. There are programs out there. The challenge for families is if you make them choose about putting food on their table or go to a training, most of them are going to put food on the table. So unless you can get paid training, then you're not going to be able to go to the paid training, to do the training. So the idea is here, I want to move you up to the middle wage job. How do I do that? First and foremost is I got to pay you to be able to do that. And so each of these programs come with KPIs that we're going to, key performance indicators that we are going to follow to ensure that we really are delivering the success that we want to, and we're moving the needle. And I know, I think, Stephanie, just to confirm, I have about 10 more minutes, correct, to go through this?
You got plenty of time, so go for it.
Okay, great.
Fantastic information.
Okay, so this program in particular, what we're going to do is leverage our regional partners, and we wanted to say create this. So we're working very closely with Community Foundation, John Helton, a Career Rise, and the idea is whoever comes in the door. So maybe if it's a Cobb County resident, for me, I'm Fulton County or DeKalb, that there's a way we can work together. So at the end of the day, the resident doesn't really know the difference between county lines. So how can we work together as a region? And that's why I'm really excited about this effort. $2 million will go to this program. And this program is expected to launch with our next year of allocation. So I don't know about you who've gotten allocation or how the state's doing it. We've got 24 million. We're getting about 8 million, 9 million this year, and then our next payment of the remainder of the funds will come in March or April of next year. And so this is one of those programs that's being slated for next year. It gives me time to build out the program. The next program we have in ours is the hiring of jobs programs for vulnerable populations. This is serving for twofold, really. First is the city of Atlanta is having challenges right now in hiring individuals to work on, and I'm sure some of your cities are as well, greening, so trimming of trees, greenway, etc. So what we're going to do is this program in particular has a two-phase. The first phase is we're going to issue an RFP asking for providers to supplement the city's employees to provide us with an immediate job, middle wage job. So they're going to be paid, I think, upwards of $18 an hour to come in and cut our grass and our being the city's grass, flowers, or whatever they tree trimming, etc., that they have to care for. And so the idea is first, let's come and supplement what they need there. So that will be very quickly. Then the second thing we'll be doing is saying, once we've got those jobs filled, we want to ensure that we are providing training to those same individuals. So the idea is get them hired, get them on a job, and then we're going to analyze and say, how can we get you to a higher paying job? And so what training can we put this individual in that they would like to learn so that they could therefore earn a middle wage job? So it's twofold: get you an immediate job, but then after you get your job, how do I upskill you so that you can get a higher wage job? That's the goal, and that's how that program. Now, this program will allow for wraparound services. So if there are considerations for MARTA cards, or should the person need metal boots, or there's daycare issues, there will be some support services in this program to allow for us to address the individual as a whole, identifying these individuals and getting them to work and then being able to upskill them. This one in particular, I'm working with Department of Public Works and Parks and Recreation at the City of Atlanta. And again, here's our key performance metrics. This one, as soon as I get approval from the city, we will be issuing this RFP, and this one will be for $3.2 million, this program here. But again, the idea is, going back to my equity statement, how do I ensure that this is in Atlanta for everyone, and how do we fulfill the city's goal of bringing more individuals up to a middle wage job? And that's how we're tying all those together. So Invest Atlanta will be issuing this RFP any day now. Okay, the next program, this one, so that was those are the two basic programs for workforce development and people development. Let's go to small business and small business development. So in the small business, we're doing twofold. First is we have a small business component and a creative talent component. So there was specifically in the ARP funds sections that talked about outdoor space and creating a place for people to go, and recognizing that because of COVID, a lot of people have been hanging out outside. So working very specifically with the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, they are actually off to the races. They put out an application, a call for artists. We've already received response. They are now approving those, and you will see in the City of Atlanta, from performances to murals, to readings, to theater outside, to really create this quality of place. And that program will be for about $1 million. That again has been already launched. It's in the process, and I think actually my first performance is this Saturday. So excited to see what that will impact for our creative talent, and those will be up to 40,000 as well. The average I'm seeing is around 15 to 20,000 to do this type of work, all places throughout the city. The next piece of this program is for our small businesses, and here in our small businesses, what we've done is we are doing the same thing we did with ARP, which was up to $40,000 grants. These are grants that will go to small businesses. Now, what we're asking for them, now this program in particular, the way Treasury wrote it, and this is just some of my humble lesson learned that if they're helpful to you, is the previous one, the Treasury said it had to be reimbursable grants. The interpretation, my lawyers, of reimbursement, and we looked at, I kid you not, we went to the Webster dictionary, is you have to give someone back once they've paid or put something else. You're reimbursing them. That was clear. Treasury this time made it a little bit, in my opinion, harder, because they didn't say it had to be reimbursable, but then they said you have to ensure that the expenses were made. Okay, well, that means you need receipts. Now, you and I have all worked with businesses. Do you have more luck getting what you need before they get the money or after they get the money? Okay, I can't see you, but I can only imagine you're probably saying before they get the money, because once they get the money, it's very hard for them to return your phone calls. They're just not as responsive. No surprise. So even though it is not a reimbursable grant, I highly recommend, and we are too, is in our grant, we're saying we need you to tell us how you're going to spend it and to send in your receipts. And the way we're going to do it is to say we are going to give you 50% up front based on what you tell us, and then the remainder of your grant comes in once we receive all your receipts. Because if not, we're not going to get the receipts. So that's the first piece. Now, do you remember that first problem I told you about, the lessons learned from the CARES Act and how we lost 2/3 of the applicants at step 7? So the second thing Treasury has put in the ARP guidelines is that the business has to prove that they were negatively impacted from COVID. All right. If that's the case, how do you show that your businesses are impacted? We talked about this, a P&L statement. But you and I know that if we're trying to get to that mom and pop business, they necessarily don't have that P&L statement. So there is a section in Treasury guidelines that says that you can ask for a group or for a consolidated group of individuals to be considered. And if you could prove that that group has been negatively impacted, then they don't need to prove it individually. Okay, so this is what I've done. I felt like I'm back in college and in my research days. We're pulling data today. I've pulled together a case, and we've made a case that 99% of our businesses, I think the number realistically is about 97% of our small businesses in the city of Atlanta were negatively impacted. I pulled data from different sources, including our friends at MasterCard. If you don't have a friendship with MasterCard, let me know. I'm happy to make an introduction. I will put my contact information in the chat when I'm done. What they did is through the swipes, you could see, and you can see the recovery. And now the issues, they could go all the way down to city. So I not only have regional information, I'm happy to send my report to Stephanie. And if it helps you, please use it. And it's on a regional basis. And then I do have some data on the city basis. But if you look at our data, we as a region have not even recovered, considering the Home Depots, the Krogers, the Publix, all of them have not had any problems and impacts. And we still aren't at the levels that we were pre-COVID. And so I haven't been able to pull them now, but even if I did pull them out, the numbers are still bad. And them in there, they're still bad. So again, I promise, Stephanie, I will send you when I'm done documenting the case in Atlanta, and any city that can use it, please use that data and that information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that in my file. And when Treasury comes audit us and says, Eloisa, your businesses did not show that they individually had an impact, I'm going to say, no. Based on Treasury's guidelines, section 2.617, it says, I can't remember the exact code, but it was some sort of section, and I have it in my document, we could prove it as a group. So I grouped all the small businesses in the city of Atlanta. That's why I didn't have them each prove that they had an economic impact. So in my ARP, I do not ask for P&L statements. Now, to super cover us, because remember that first point of lesson learned, anticipate what Treasury is going to ask me, I'm thinking they may say, well, I get it, but still, how do I know that this specific business wasn't in the 0.3% that you said didn't suffer from an economic downturn? I've included, and I am happy to share this with anyone if it helps you, is I've also included a statement that the business swears that they have to get it notarized that they, as their business, did suffer as a loss as a result of COVID. So I think, my lawyers think, and my compliance folks think that not only have we followed Treasury guidelines and made the case that as a group they were impacted, but the fact that we now also have an acknowledgement that they are impacted and they attest to that, that together is enough to say that we did enough, right? At some point, could you do more? You could always do more, but we were like, look, we think we did our due diligence enough to say that this business was covered. So again, anticipating what Treasury is going to ask for, and then ensuring that the business really did suffer. So again, I don't have a P&L, so now I'm hoping I get more people. I don't drop off on that step 7, but it's much easier to go get a sign an affidavit. Okay. The next lesson learned on this program, and I'm spending time on this program because here is where we had the biggest issues or most experience, is this duplication of benefits. Now, there maybe aren't as many programs out there, but they're still out there. And I kid you not, my compliance folks were like, yeah, even if they got a loan from their cousin, that could help. I'm like, really? At some point, you guys are driving me crazy. But what we also did is we've created a form on duplication of benefits, because at some point, if you just think about how this works, think of the mom and pop shop. Don't think of my sophisticated business owner that has an accountant and a whole financing staff of 8 people. They have no problem. I'm thinking about my small restaurant owner, my convenience store owner, my hair salon owner. They're all great businesses in our cities, but maybe they do their accounting on Quicken, right? They don't have the same level of expertise. And typically those small businesses, okay, my dad had a body shop. I used to be half accountant, half answering phones, receptionist, all of that stuff. We had one account. Everything went in and everything went out, right? They got to the point where our compliance folks wanted us to show the money coming in from PPP, the money coming in from CARES, the money coming in from EDL, and then it coming into one. They thought it all went into one account, and then it would go out from another account. I'm like, that's not the way it happens. So it all kind of comes into one account and then it goes out of one account. And so it's hard to prove that there's no duplication of benefits. So the only one, in my humble opinion, that really knows that the rent that they used to cover out of CARES is not the same month's rent as EDL is the business owner. So what we've done is we've created an affidavit, also another one, which they got to go to a notary, but they got to at least sign it, that says, I, business X, understand it's my responsibility too, it's not just us, to ensure that I am not using the same source of money to cover the same month's rent. And so I think that again, Treasury didn't tell us, but I think that acknowledgement is important for you and your businesses as you disperse money, so that they should sign some sort of form that says that it's their responsibility. What we've also done, and I'm happy to share, is we had a whole conference, a whole Zoom seminar. It's saved on our website, about what is a duplication of benefits, so that we even refer people to people on that document saying, and if you have any questions, here is where you can find information about duplication of benefits, and here's a video you can watch on duplication of benefits. Because again, think of that mom and pop shop. If we don't need to get audited, any of us, and then they come find out that they use the same pot of money or they use the same application for both pots of money and then use the money twice. And so again, I emphasize this because I think it's important that it is not just our responsibility, it's the responsibility of the business as well. Because Treasury, though, are holding us responsible. But I'm saying, yes, we've communicated, we've shared, we've given, but at some point it's the company too. And so I think that was our way to cover us there. Now, let me just close. Those are our KPIs that we have that we're covering. Oh, and one last thing I would add, and I'm going to cut it short, Stephanie, I apologize, but on this program, you want to know if you're moving the needle. So what we did is on our CARES app, we said, and as part, you're going to get this money, and in 1 year, we're going to send you a survey. You have to commit to sending that back to us. What do you think I'm asking in that survey? Did the money make a difference? Are you still in business? Are you growing? Have you hired more employees? Are you? So it really is these basic questions. There's nothing going to be a don't send me financials. It really is going to be a survey because I want to get those response back. And then we'll be able to provide that to Treasury because you know we all have to reply quarterly to Treasury on the impact and say we dispersed $5,000 or we were able to see this sort of impact back. And so those were the things that I think will be really important for us at Treasury. Treasury hasn't made a big deal out of it yet, but they do say you have to report. We're not quite sure what that reporting is. So we just put a blanket in there. You got to commit to a survey at the end. So you'll see us being able to now in a year, come back to our businesses and see how they're doing. Okay, with that, 2 more programs and then I'll turn it back over to you, Stephanie. I'm just watching my time here. The first one is permanent affordable commercial space. One of the other things we heard from specifically our businesses in the city of Atlanta is that it's getting too expensive to do business and to have a location in the city. So we spend, if you recall, I went through our numbers. I'm really proud of what we've been able to do in affordable housing, but how about affordable commercial space? And this has been one of those areas. This is one of those programs we've always wanted to do and never had a way to do it as a result of lack of capitalization. Here in particular, what we've done is we've tied it to COVID and said, as a result of COVID, there's a lot less cash out for our small minority businesses. And so this idea will specifically provide funding for us to go. What the thought is we will issue an RFP asking for our partners. And so we're thinking there are some really key partners out there to go out and buy space. We then augment their dollars. So we are creating permanent, affordable commercial space throughout the city. I am super excited about that. We've never been able to. I will tell you that this is also causing a lot of interest by our philanthropic groups. So we believe by us being able to put the RFP out, get a nonprofit to go buy and hold on to that property and get augmented by our dollars and philanthropic dollars as well, a lot of foundation dollars. So they're tapping all sources, which will help to create a very robust program, I believe, in the city of Atlanta. Again, here it's about how do we, knowing if equity, we talked about at the beginning, is truly on what we're looking for. The idea here is, okay, if equity is truly what we believe in, and we know that small businesses create wealth for themselves, their families, and the people they employ, and we know that a majority of folks that they employ are minorities, we're seeing it in the data, then what we can do is we really are moving the needle by creating a program that allows our entrepreneurs who are building a dream, that want to start their first business, have a place to land. So excited about our permanently commercial affordable space. And this is a repeat program because we did talk about this program. So I think that is my last slide. So with that, I'll turn it off to you, Stephanie, for any questions, and I hope that was helpful to you. And again, I am happy to share any of all my documents, all my applications, all of my grading that you've used. The last thing I'll say is we use Neighborly, the platform where you submit your applications. It is a startup here in the city of Atlanta. They are out of Atlanta Tech Village, and they're a great group. It allows you to bring external folks to grade or score. So there's a lot of great things about Neighborly. So I'm happy to, I have no ownership in Neighborly. They're just a great company and they've really helped solve many of our issues. So again, whatever I can do to be helpful.
Dr. Eloisa, thank you so much. That was such a informative and dynamic presentation, and we are just so grateful to have you on board with us today. This is some incredible information from our cities. We've had a lot of inquiries from our cities about how to structure these programs. You guys have done your due diligence and really knocked it out of the park. And we're so grateful that you're willing to share this information with us in our cities. You know, a lot of our cities are very small and don't have a lot of resources and time to spend to do this. So thank you so much for being such a great partner to us and for coming out today and participating in our development sessions. If you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat and we'll get those addressed. Just see if any questions come up in the next minute or so. We're really excited about what you've got going on, particularly for next year, and look forward to seeing the results you get from next year. Since you kind of did a pilot year, it'll be nice to see now that you've learned some takeaways, and thank you so much for sharing those takeaways with us. That's part of what we do a lot in downtown development. We call it rip off and duplicate. So we like to learn. We like to learn from other people.
It's the highest honor when someone does that to you, because that means they liked your program. So again, Stephanie, if there's anything, I mean, I'm happy to touch base with any other of your cities, or if anybody has a challenge or lesson learned. The reality, the good thing is, usually when compliance comes, they go to the big city, so they'll come here to Atlanta. But I'm happy to always share any of the things that I've spoken about or that you think are helpful to anyone in their experience. You just let me know.
Will do, and everything you've brought up today has been incredibly helpful, and we're excited to share this with the rest of our cities. And once again, this is our development session series. It's recorded. We produce it and then put it out on our georgiacitiesfoundation.org website, so it'll be available for anyone to view. Thank you once again, Dr. Eloisa, and thank you for joining us today. We'll see you on the next development sessions.
You got it, Stephanie. Thank you, everybody.